Okay, so we will get started on today's presentation. Our tutor today is going to be Will, and we'll get him started in a few minutes, but we'll just start off by running through everything else. So the agenda for today, 6 p.m. start, obviously. We will just do a few little welcomes and introductions. And we'll all introduce ourselves, and then we'll give you guys a little chance to introduce yourselves as well. Then we'll quickly look at what is new. Elementor have done quite a lot since our last lesson. So there's a few things to report on there, and I'll just run through them one by one. And then today's topic, we'll get started with Will. And when he's finished with that, we'll do a Q&A session. And if you have any questions, you can either ask them at the end, or you can post them into the little chat window on your right-hand side. And we're aiming to finish around 7 or 7:30 p.m. As you can see at the bottom there, the session might be recorded and will be shared with you after the session is terminated. So we will start off with introductions, and we'll just go through everyone one by one. This is the team. This is myself, obviously. Will on the left there, Julia, who is not with us tonight, and Chris on the right-hand side there. So I'll just switch back to, what button am I pressing? Stop share. So Will, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am indeed Will, and I'm living in Sydney, Australia, just now. I am a WordPress backend developer, whatever that means. So basically, I like to get dirty with code and stuff, code and servers and APIs. I've recently just started to get into front-end stuff, JavaScript, but I still like the programming side. And maybe over the last few years as well, I've moved more into consultancy as well. So helping people not just with their WordPress websites and the programming, but how to manage their business and scale up and things like that as well. So watch out, I have a new venture coming very soon, but that's me. I'll move over to Morris.
Hi.
Or John.
No, Morris, next. I'll do it last.
I'm not that interesting. Just been developing websites for a long time as a hobby. Doing some stuff now on the side, and yeah, enjoying Elementor and coming here to learn with everybody else. And I guess that's more interesting stuff. So yes, over to John.
I am John, and I'm a graphic designer. And unlike Will, I know nothing about coding because I am a graphic designer, and my job has always been to make things look nice. So building websites has always been difficult for me. But programs like Elementor make that possible, and they allow me to build everything and make them look nice without having to really know coding. And I'm self-employed and run my own business, and I do a lot of things for sort of smaller startups who need a very simple website build, very fast for not a high budget. So I can help them out with that without needing to know the coding. So let's just get back to share screen. So that's the three of us. And I'm just going to quickly run through the code of conduct before we get started. As you can see here, we welcome everyone, beginners, experts, and everyone in between. So we'll find out a little bit more about you guys in a bit, see what level you're at. And we run this one every month, and we do it on the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Sydney time. Announcements are normally via our Meetup group. You can see the URL for that one there, but you can also see another URL at the end, which is Events Elementor page, and I will be talking about that one shortly. That is one of the things that we'll be covering in What's New, as there is a slight change to our Meetup groups and where they are held and where they are presented. Meetups are always between 60 and 90 minutes long. And obviously, let's keep it fun and personal. If possible, turn on your camera. We want to see what you look at. As we're talking, we can see all your faces. That makes it a little bit more personal. But if you can mute your mic while we're talking so we don't hear the dogs barking in the background, etc. Use the chat box to ask questions. I'm sure you all know where that is in Zoom these days. So if you have any questions, you can post them in there and leave any comments. But yes, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's never a bad question or a wrong question. Ask anything, and we'll do what we can to answer them. We don't always know every single thing, but we know most of it. And make sure you have a drink and a snack handy, because we won't have a break. So, you know, get something to eat. Kids and pet video bombing is totally acceptable, but again, obviously with your microphones on mute. And yes, just relax and enjoy. So that is the code of conduct. Hang on, I'm trying to change this one. So here we are. Now it's back over to you guys for a few minutes. Introduce yourselves and what you're drinking. So we want to know a little bit about yourselves. As me, Will, and Morris just did, we just introduced ourselves, let you know what we do, what we use WordPress and Elementor for. But most importantly, we want to know what you're drinking. So right now I'm drinking some herbal tea because it's too late in the day for caffeinated tea. And I've got it in my little Super Mario cup. And if you would like to introduce yourself now, you can see at the bottom there. If you go to the reactions section and then press raise hand, all of you who want a couple of seconds to introduce yourself, just throw that in and then I'll pick you one by one now. Hang on, and I'll take my share off. Yep, so just go to reactions. Okay, so we have one here. Rosalie, make sure you switch your microphone on. Yep.
Yep. I joined WordPress and Elementor to start a website, and I flounder around in it, I'd say. I also do card making, which I wanted to sell on the website, and that's where I'm stuck at the moment, trying to get more things up and running.
Okay, and what are you drinking right now? Drinking
I'm
anything?
drinking coffee. Coffee.
Oh. It's pretty late in the day for that one, but well done. Okay, thank you, Rosalie. Over to John. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm John Stoneman. I'm just drinking some lemon soft drink. I've been a website developer for about 6 or 7 years now. I run my own company called Dynamic Websites. Full stack development, which basically means I do the back end code, the front end code, graphic design as necessary, content writing, basically everything for clients, even do some documentation and other things to help people through on their businesses. I have a partner who does a lot of the content writing. We do SEO and paid advertising as well. So pretty much got most bases covered. Been working on WordPress for about 6 years and using Elementor for about 2.
Very cool, John. Okay, next up, sorry if I pronounced this wrong because we just talked about it. Dowie?
Yeah,
Dowie?
that's correct. Yeah, that was really well done. G'day, guys. I'm Dowie. I'm relatively new to this group. I normally fly for a living, but because of COVID, we've all been shut down, so I haven't flown for about 18 months now. My background was I developed websites back in 1993 and 1994 when I was learning to fly. That's how I paid for my flying lessons. I went around to all the local businesses at the flying school and I was like, oh, can I do your website? And that was when I was back in straight typing HTML code into text documents and things like that. Back in the days of Netscape and some of the others as well back then. So, look, this has been I then went on, I became a Microsoft engineer and I was a Cisco engineer as well, but that was all very hands-on and a lot's changed in the last 20 odd years. So when COVID hit, still doing a lot of websites and things as hobbies and things, but I've sort of gone back into it full time now. So I run a business called On Top of IT. And look, I've learned so much from Will, like on the things that he's had each week. They've been really, really helpful, and a lot of the other people that have been on there as well. So thanks so much. Got to say, for an industry where, you know, we're all doing the same thing, it is very unified, and there's a lot of people that want to share their skill and stuff like that as well. and that's awesome. That's really that's a good thing. So thanks to everyone. Hi to everyone, and yeah, if anyone's got anything that comes up, I'd love to work with everyone and anyone. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Dowie. And drinking?
I've also got something natural, something herbal, something I believe they call it James Squire Swindler. It's tropical. Don't judge me, right? I literally just went to the fridge and got it, and I'm like, do you know what? It's 6 o'clock. I've had a really hard day. No one's ever even going to know. I didn't realize you were going to say, hey, what's everybody drinking?
It's that sort of time of day. It's acceptable at 6 p.m. And yeah, I can't all right now. So, thank you, buddy.
It is my first one, so yeah.
We don't judge. Don't judge.
Okay, just a couple more. First, Georgia, please.
Hey everyone.
Your sound going off there, Georgia.
It's the first time I've used my pods. Still can't hear me?
Vaguely.
Oh, okay.
It's cutting in and out, Georgia. So we can hear you, but it's cutting in and out.
Okay. Go to someone else and I'll try and fix it.
That does seem to be working now. Just give it a try now, and then
better?
we'll move. Yeah, that seems to be working
is
now.
that better? I'm talking much better now. Better. It's the first time I've used the pod, so maybe I was talking too quiet. Okay. I work for a not-for-profit health organisation in rural regional New South Wales, and I'm their comms and marketing manager. I'm also a graphic designer by trade. So I'm like you, John, I visual, not, so that's why I love Elementor. It's very good. I was originally given a WordPress site when I first started. It's like, hey, go do that. And not do the whole coding thing. So my lovely IT man came up with Elementor for me, and it's been a dream since. So I redid the whole site in Elementor, so it made sense to me. And I all the time, and I thought, oh, why don't I just join in? Because I saw the forms, and that's something I've been struggling with lately. So it made sense to join a community that might be able to help me.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Georgia. And very quickly, your drink?
Soda water tonight, but I thought it's normally champagne this time of night, but I thought it'd be behaved just in case.
That's fancy. Very cool. Right, we'll just have one more then before we move on to the next section, and this will be the other John. I can see here. John, I can't see the last name, sorry. There we are. Yes.
Can you hear me? It's Mac Lulick, but John will be fine. I've got a hot Milo, so if I drop off in the next 90 minutes, don't worry. I may be able to catch up with some recording. I'm not sure if this is being recorded. Is it, John?
Yes, this one's being recorded, yes.
Great. Okay. So as I said, I might have to catch up with that. I've been developing websites for about 25 years, probably 20 odd years of those in WordPress, but it's all been sort of part-time until I retired about 3 years ago, and then it became, well, it's become more and more full-time, using quite a variety of tools, basic coding, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, several sites in Elementor that I'm working on at the moment. Probably the largest one is for a museum, and we're already up to something close to 50 pages and 20-odd thousand images. But I've been also recently dabbling in a little bit more coded versions of web building. I don't know if anybody else, maybe you'll probably ban me if I say words like oxygen and Webflow as alternatives to Elementor, but I figure it's always a case of using the right tool for the right job. But so far, Elementor has been the one that I've used for building most sites.
Awesome. Hey, Lau, it's very useful if you can know more than one program or more than one skill, because, you know, different needs for different clients. So if you know everything, well, that's brilliant. But, you know, at least know two. That's always good.
I'm not professing to know everything.
Yeah, that could be difficult.
Hoping to learn a lot more from groups like this.
Excellent. Awesome. That's good to hear. Okay, so we'll just put this one back on, and we'll just go through quickly before we pass over to Will. We'll just go through the Elementor updates. As I said earlier, there's been quite a few updates for that. We'll start off with the first one here. Hang on, did I paste that? I was going to post something. I was going to post the links for all these 3 things in the chat section on the side there. And then let's just go back to this one. So the first one here is the Elementor Community Hub. And as you can see, the name of that is forum.elementor.com. And that's exactly what it is. It is a forum that recently has been launched by, hang on, let me get out this one, by Elementor. I'll just show you this one on here. So yeah, it's a forum. And if you have any questions about anything, it can be asked in here. As you can see at the top here, you can create a post. Or if you want to just have a little search for something, let's just say you're looking for pop-ups, type that in, and you will see all of the questions that have already been answered around that one. So pop-up enhancements, confusing login pop-up, etc. So that's the first one. So go check that one out. The link is in the chat window there, and just make sure you sign up, sign in as yourself. If you already have an Elementor account, you can link it to that one. Then the second thing to show you is the new events page, the new Meetups events page. Previously or currently, we are running all of this through meetup.com and using Zoom, but we are now using a new system that is run by Elementor themselves. It will all work the exact same way. It will work the same way as Zoom, where we will have a big group chat and we can share the windows and show you what to do. Yeah, again, just go in here and check it out and sign in as yourself again, using your Elementor account. And if you go to events, it will tell you everything that is upcoming. And this will probably show you everything here. Here's one in Bern. Where's that? In Switzerland, I think, and Edinburgh, which is in Great Britain. But the link we've got in here is the Sydney one. So make sure you sign up for that one, and then you can see the event page for our next event in June, and you can RSVP on there. And then the last thing to talk about is the Elementor is expanding to version 3.3. And they'll be doing that next month, but we are not able to tell you exactly what is going to happen in that one yet. But if you want to look at it yourself and see what the new things can do, you can install the developer edition of it. So if you are all using Elementor already and you're using the free version or the pro version, this is kind of an extra plugin that will basically play around with all of these new versions of Elementor that are gonna happen. Now, they are all test versions, so there may be a few bugs in there, but if you wanna give it a try, this is the third link that we put into the chat window over here, and you can go and install that and have a play around with it and see what it can do for your website. So go check these all out. Check out the community page in the first link there, add yourself as a user. Check out events, add yourself as a user, find the next Sydney one, RSVP. And if you're feeling creative, go and install the developer one and see if that works for you. So that's everything for Elementor with the updates. I'm going to pass over to Will now, who will run through the whole lesson.
Superb. Thank you, John. Great MCing skills there. Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. Screen number 2. There we go. Can everyone see that all right? Awesome. Okay, now I'm probably gonna just stare away a little bit. So if I kind of looking like that, it's because I'm looking at my other screen. It's not that I'm ignoring everyone, okay? Right. So tonight, I thought I would talk a little bit about personalizing Elementor forms. Because when people start to get into designing their website with Elementor, you know, one of the first things they want to do is be able to contact people. You'll be able to contact them. So very important for things like services, or if you're offering stuff like products and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So what we're specifically looking at tonight is how to personalize forms. So how to pass information into a form and how to then use some of that information to produce a personalized thank you page for the person. Okay, it just goes a little bit that extra mile than your normal website, which, you know, you fill out a form, you get a little spinner, and it just says thanks, someone will be in touch with you. A bit boring. So we're going to look at some of these concepts tonight. So this is a more kind of advanced to medium concept, but you know, we're recording this and you can watch it back in your own time and figure exactly what's happening with all those steps. Now, I have a few slides here tonight, but I really just want to go through those so you have a basic understanding, and then after that, I'll show you an actual demo as to how to build that stuff. So bear with me when I've got the slides open. Okay, so we're talking about personalizing Elementor forms using request parameters. That's pretty technical. So what is a request parameter? So if you're a beginner, you may not know what that is. So we call it a request parameter. You might know it as, or may have heard of it as a URL parameter. And if you haven't heard of it, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to have a look at a typical URL and break down the components just so you guys can understand what's happening. So from this slide here, what I've done here is you should be, I put down a very familiar type of URL address. And so you should be familiar with this type of format. It is a login URL for a fake WordPress website. It has no parameters, so I've not got to the URL parameters, the request parameters yet. But I just wanted to introduce this kind of basic concept so you understand what a URL link is. So a basic URL, it has three components. It has a protocol, that's the one on the right-hand side. It has a domain, that's the bit in the middle, and it has a path, and that's the one at the end to the right. Now the protocol, that can be HTTP, and that's plain text, or HTTPS, which is secure, which means it scrambles all the data when it sends it backwards and forwards to your website. And nowadays, all your websites should really be HTTPS. You shouldn't have any HTTP because that's it's not good for security, and it's not good for SEO for Google either. So that's a protocol, HTTP or HTTPS, preferably HTTPS. The second part is the domain. Now, the domain is a domain name that you set up when you have your website, and that's a domain name that points to your web server. So that's pretty simple. The third part is called the path. So that's the part in purple at the right-hand side. Now, the path tells the web server where to navigate to, and hence what to send back as a response to the browser. So that's a very, very simple breakdown of a URL. We've got a protocol at the beginning that tells if it's going to be plain text or secure. You've got your domain, your web server address in the middle, and then you've got a path to somewhere on the web server that the browser can see, ask the web server for, and get some data back from that. So this one has no parameters at all. So let's dive in a little bit deeper because we are going to be using these things later on in the demo. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that. Okay, so here is a more complex URL. So it's the same type of URL. It's got the same protocol, the same domain, and it's got the same path. So I've left those the same, but it's got some parameters at the end. Now, this again is the WordPress registration URL. It has a redirect to another page on the site. Now, the query string, to the bit in green, always begins with a question mark. So you've got your normal URL that we had before, and that stays the same. But this time we've got a question mark after the end. The question mark tells the server to expect some additional data to be sent through. We call this additional data request parameters or URL parameters. Now, these URL parameters, they're what's called key and value pairs. Now, the key and value pairs, they themselves are separated by an ampersand. If you don't know what ampersand is, it's that kind of squiggly thing that kind of looks like an 8 with a bit missing and some connectors that are not connecting properly. Now, they allow the passing of additional information, or what we call requests, to the web server. Okay, so again, we've got the basic URL there, and then we've just extended it with this bit at the end that says !action equals register, because it's a registration form, and redirect to somewhere else. So let's have a little bit closer look at those request parameters. Okay, so this is the same URL, it's the same request parameters, but I'm just highlighting a few extra things here. Okay, so in this example, the request parameter key pair number 1 contains the key action, and its value is register. And then key pair number 2, it contains the key called redirect_to, and its value is webinar, which is a page on the site to redirect after registration. So if you have a look at those kind of fancy %2f things, they're HTML characters. So they've been encoded to represent a backslash. Now, you can't put the backslash in there because the browser will get all confused because it'll think it's a path to somewhere. So for special characters like those, you'll find that they come out in the URL as kind of squiggly or different types of encodings for those. So the %2f, that just means backslash for those. Now, some text characters, to summary, this URL is passing the parameter register with the value of it's passing the parameter of action with the value of register, and it's passing the parameter of redirect with the value of /webinar/. So what this is doing is it's a registration page for WordPress. Once you register, it's telling it that the action is register, so it's going to bring up the registration login rather than the actual login. And then once you've registered, then it's going to redirect to /webinar in this particular instance. Okay, now because the web server now has these bits of data, we can use them in our WordPress and Elementor templates. And Elementor, it supports request parameters or URL parameters, however you want to describe that, in many widget areas where dynamic data, or it's called dynamic tags, is supported. And we're going to have a look at some examples of parameter passing using the Elementor Forms widget. Okay. Before we get started, I have a couple of quick quizzes just to make sure that everyone understands this concept, because it can be kind of a bit technical and a bit confusing. So here's a quick quiz number 1. What do request parameters do? Do they A, request the web server to send data back to the browser, or do they B, pass additional data from the web browser to the web server? So type in your answer A or B in the chat right now. I'll just see if I can get the chat window up. Okay, we've got some answers coming through. Yep. Correct. B. B is the correct answer. Super. Thank you, guys. Looks like you've got that one down. Okay, here's a trickier one. Quick quiz number 2. What parameter does this URL send to the web server? So it's https mydomain.com $s equals fluffy and name equals bunny. So is it A, key S value fluffy and key name value bunny, or is it B, key is fluffy and value is S and key is bunny and value is name? Type in your answer A or B. There are no prizes. We've got A. Awesome. The answer is indeed A. Fantastic. Great. So thank you so much. It's good to get some feedback from people just to understand that we know what these concepts are, because it's pretty pivotal when we go into this little bit of a demo here. Okay, let's move on. So let me just see if this is going to work. So I'm doing live demos here. Nothing can go wrong. So we'll just see if I can find the window. It is in here somewhere. Not that one, but this one. There we go. I'm just checking on my iPad. Yep, it looks like you guys can see that. Great. Okay, so here I have a website. So it's just a demo WordPress websites that I use for these meetups type things. It has Elementor. It has Elementor Pro installed for there just to get all the juicy stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I'm just going to show you, if I can just get rid of this annotation thing. Get rid of that. There we go. I'm just going to show you what we're going to try and do, what we're going to build. So I'm going to show you what it is first, and then we'll back engineer and show you how that's done. So let's go to pages. I have 3 pages built in here just for this demo. Ignore all the other stuff. So I have an Elementor support page. I have an Elementor test form, and I have an Elementor thank you page. So let's have a look at the support page here. I'll just view that. Yep, you guys can see that fine. So on the support page, we have 3 buttons. It might be a bit too small, but we have one button that says blue widget broken, one button that says red widget broken. Oh dear, I should really have renamed these different. And another button called green widget broken. So depending on which widget you go, so you can think of this as a very simple support page that you might give to your customers. Just say my red widget is broken. I'm going to click on that one here. It then redirects me to another page that's got the format in, and it's pre-populated my name. It knows who I am because I'm logged in. This is a support site. It's a fake support site. It knows my email address, so I don't have to put that in. And it's actually put the topic of red widget broken. So all I need to do is just vent my anger. Grr, fix it now. And then send. Okay, and when I click on this send, it's going to verify that form was sent successfully. Then it's going to redirect to say, thanks, Will Brown. We'll get back to you shortly regarding red widget broken. So that's the kind of journey. That's the path that we're going to take through. So three things, just to personalize the form experience. But before we do that, let's go back. So let's just bring this page up on an incognito window. And if you don't know what incognito window is, it basically means you're not logged in at all, and it doesn't cache anything. It's great for testing things when you're not logged into WordPress, because a lot of the times you'll be doing these anonymously, so people won't be logging into your website. And when you're testing them, when you're in your website and you're creating all these things, you're always logged in. So it's always a good idea to test these out on an incognito window, so you're not logged in, so you don't have all that information. So let's do the same process. So I'm not logged in at all. This is a vanilla basic person. Red widget broken. And you can see here now the name, the email is not populated because I'm not logged in. It doesn't know who I am. So I can just type in the stuff that I want. Now this is actually linked to email, so I don't want to send anyone any dodgy emails. Okay, and it's already pre-populated the red widget, and then I can just do, I need this fixed, and send to that. And it should redirect. So again, we get the thanks Bob Bobley, and red widget is broken. And just to show you the difference, let's go back to the support page. So if we do blue widget, it's saying the blue widget is broken. And if we go back to the green widget, it brings in the topic of green widget broken there. So we're personalizing the forms. We're transferring information in and out of forms just to make it easier for the customers, to make it more personal as well at the end. Okay, so let's see, how did I build all that stuff? Okay, let's go to the page first. So this is the support page. Let's have a quick look at this. Edit with Elementor. There we go. I was getting scared there, it wouldn't work. Okay, so this is very, very simple page. We have 3 buttons here. We have one button, another button, and one button here. Okay, and what they do is they call a particular link. Okay, now the link's got all squiggly stuff on it. So let's just take a step back. Let's leave this one alone first. Let's go and have a look at the form, because it's all about the forms. So let's go and have a quick look at the form. And that's where you'd probably be starting anyway. So while that loads in, here we go. Load. Okay, so here we go. Here's the form here. Okay. Now, the form has got 4 fields on it. From here, we've got the name, the email, the topic, and the message. In fact, when you create a new form, and let's do that. When you create a new form, it usually brings in just these 3, the name, the email, and the message, and you can add extra ones to it. So let's build a new form, shall we? And I'll show you what I did to that one. So up to here, form, here it is, drag and drop that onto a new column. Okay, so we can see here, this is the new form. It's default to name, it's default to email, and it's got a message on there as well. Okay, now what we want to do is when we want to create a separate field called topic, and that's the one that we're going to pre-populate. So we're in this form at the bottom. Let's go into the form fields and add a new item. We want to give it a label of topic. You want to be careful when you're giving labels to forms, and make sure you don't use any reserved terms, otherwise this process is not going to use work. So don't use things like name, don't use things like username, don't use things like WordPress, don't use things like product or category or tag, because those are all kind of reserved words in WordPress and Elementor. So I'm going to use the word topic here, and we can see here it's down, put it down the bottom. Let's just move it up so it looks the same as the other one from here. Okay, so that's the topic field right in there. Now, we are trying to get information from the URL and bring that in from here. Okay, so what we want to do is we are trying to, what we call using a dynamic tag. So dynamic tag allows us to grab stuff from a URL, and that's a URL. So let's have a quick look at the form. At the top. So you can see, you probably can't see that very, very well, but we've got the URL to the form, which is the site name, and then it's got Elementor-test-form, which is the name of the form, and then we've got the question mark, and then we've got topic, which is a key, and then we've got this kind of squiggly stuff, red, and then we've got $20 widget, $20 and broken. Now that stuff there, we're not allowed spaces in URL, so that's a space, a %20 is a space encoded in HTML. And if you don't know how to do that, there's a great little tool, and you can search for it, and I'll drop the link in the chat afterwards. But basically, if you search for URL encode online, you'll find all these little tools up here. And you can type in whatever message you want to be able to submit. So for this one here, it's blue widget broken. And at the bottom, you can see it encodes it in the way that's expected in the URL. So I know personally that $20 it represents a space, but if you didn't know that, you can use a little tool like this, and then you just copy that information, and that's the stuff that you need to go in the top of the URL here. Okay, so let's go back to the form. So I've added this topic field, but we want to make that dynamic. So what we do is we go into the form fields, and we want to click on the advanced tab here. Okay, now you can put a default value in here, which is great, but we want that dynamic tag. We want to grab that stuff in that URL that's been sent to the web server. So we click on this little dynamic tags here, and you'll see these all over Elementor. You probably haven't even known what they do, but they're in most of the widgets, and which is great because you can start sucking in dynamic information from everywhere. And I'll show you another example of that in a second. But we want to get part of the URL. We want to get that juicy request parameters in. So we click on the dynamic tag, and we want to scroll down. Let's move my speaker out of the way. I'm going to scroll down to site, and then site has something called request parameter. That's what we're talking about tonight. So click on that. And then we click on it again, because that just tells us that we want to use request parameter. It doesn't tell us which ones we want. So we want to click on that again, leave it get, because we're getting the information from the URL, and we want to give it the parameter name of topic. Now you can give any parameter name, not the reserved keywords, but any name, just as long as it's consistent throughout this process. So I'm going to use topic as a parameter for tonight. Okay, and that's done, and then I'm going to update that. Let me just delete this one. So this is the form that I was using before. Let's just get rid of that, just so we can actually test that this form works properly. So this is the new one that we are developing. So I'm going to update that. Okay, So let's go back to the test, and it's got the parameter. So there's the form. So let's just have a look at the form without that at the top. So that's the normal form there. So it's not pre-populating anything because we haven't told it to pre-populate. And we've got no URL parameters. So if I add a parameter in here to the URL, so question mark topic equals red space budget space broken, press return. And now you can see that because we used that dynamic tag, we've used the word topic, it's pulling that information in from the URL into this, this field topic. And that's exactly what we want to do for today. So let's go back to the form. Okay, and let's do the name and email as well, because just say we're logged in, we want to grab that information from the support for the support, so they don't have to type it all in, just so it's all correct as well. So that's we've got the topic, we've got the dynamic tag, the dynamic request parameter from the URL, and that is working. So let's pre-populate the name and the email. We can use the same type of process, but grabbing different information in from WordPress. So we click on the name, we go into advanced, we click on the little dynamic tags, and then we scroll, like, see all the stuff you can get in. So post date, post ID, post terms, post title, archive names, scroll a little bit down, we can get featured image, we get author information if this was a form attached to a post. If this is a WooCommerce product form, then you can get information on products and pricing and sales and all that sort of stuff. But let's go to site. And
lost the video.
I think the video is still there. The video looks good. Okay, and you can't see it on yours. Okay, you might need to just refresh a little bit. So we want to come down to site. And we're going to user info. From here, we have to click on it again to tell it which user information. And then we can scroll down. So we've got access to user ID, display name, username, first name, last name, bio, email, website, and user meta. So let's do display name. Okay, now it's pre-populated that because it knows who I am. And let's do the same for email as well. So click on the email field, advanced, click on dynamic tags, scroll down to site, user information, click back in, and then we want to choose email this time. Email. Okay, and see we're just getting a live preview there. So it knows who I am, it knows my email address. So let's just update that. And we'll go back to the form with the URL parameter, we'll do a refresh. So it's bringing in that information to the topic. And now it's also pre-populating who I am. And that would change, of course, if you're logged in as well. So we have this, this form working. It's pre-populating the name, it's pre-populating the email because I'm logged in. And it's also bringing the stuff in the URL, the request parameters, into the topic one there. But we need to feed this, this information to the form. It's no good expecting someone just to type all that stuff in the URL. That's not going to work. So we need like a landing page with all the stuff to feed the form. And that's what we're going to do right now. So let's go back to the pages. And we're going to have a look at the, is it that one there? Is it that one there? It's this one here. Okay. So this is our landing page. This is our support page with all the buttons in here. And now the URL is going to make a little bit more sense. So what I've done here is I've just basically created a button. So here's a button. I dragged one on here. I changed its name to be blue widget broken for there. And I changed its color as well, because it doesn't really make sense it being blue, being green, sorry. There we go, blue widget broken. Now we want to change the URL because we're if you click on a button, it's going to click through to a URL. Where did my button go? Did I just delete that? Oh dear. Okay, let's create a new one. Sorry about that. Button, I probably didn't save that properly. Click on this and we'll do blue. Can't spell tonight. Blue widget broken. Okay, and we'll change it to blue. There we go. Okay, now if we go back to content here, that's a bit more purple, but that's all right. So a button has to have a link. And what we want to do is we want to link that to the form page, so the page that's got the form embedded, which is this one here. That's displaying the form. And we want to pass this information in the URL as well. So we need to get the page URL for that form. And so if we go back to pages, we've got the test form here. You can open that up. And then at the very top, you get the plain URL, and that's one with no request parameters. So copy that, and then you can pop that into your button URL here. But all that's going to do is just redirect to the form pages, because there's no request parameters. It's like that very first URL that we looked at. Because there's no parameters, it's not feeding the information into that. So we need to give that information to that page via the URL. So we've got the URL there, and remember what we do is we type question mark for the very first parameter to tell it that there's some parameters there, and then we want to use that topic. That's the key that we gave, the dynamic tag for that field, topic equals, and then whatever message you want. So I'm not going to use a space here. I'll just do blue widget is broken. Okay, and that's my button updated. So let's just see that one in action, and you can replicate that for the other ones. I'm not going to do that tonight because I don't want to waste some time, but that's that page updated. Let's go and have a look at the landing page. I've got lots of these ones now, haven't I? Let's just go to landing page. So this one, view. So now we can see our blue widget broken. Well, if I hover over it, I know you can't see it at the bottom, but see that black bit coming up at the bottom, that tells you where it's going to go. So it's going to that Elementor-test-form page, which has the Elementor form inside it. And it's got the question mark topic equals blue widget is broken, which is the dynamic parameters that we're going to squeeze into that topic field. So let's click on that. And here we go. So at the top, you can see that's just the URL. That's the link that we put into the button. And here's the request parameters, the URL parameters at the top. And that's feeding it all into this, this field here. So that's kind of step one and two, I guess. So now we've got a landing page. We've got a button that's got some request parameters in the URL. We click on that. It opens up the Elementor page that's got the form embedded in it. And it's now putting the information that's in the URL in that topic action into the topic field, because when we're editing it, we have chosen the dynamic tags and then the request parameter get and topic. Okay. So let's do the very last step. Last step is once the form has been submitted, then you want to create a nice thank you page for someone. And what you do here is you go into your test form and let's see, after submit. So down here, so we've got form fields, buttons, and then actions after submit. So click on that one. I've probably got this set up. No, I don't actually. Okay. So by default, we've got collections. So you could want to collect all the entries and you're going to email it out to the person. But you can add redirect. So once you add redirect, you get a nice little setting down here called redirect. Okay. Just with a simple link. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to go to build a thank you page. So here is the thank you page in Elementor. Let's have a quick look. I know I'm jumping around a bit, but hopefully if you watch this back, you'll understand the process here. So this is step 3, the thank you page. Just wait for Elementor to load that up. Here we go. So this actually has 2 items on it. You can't really see them because some of the downfall of using dynamic tags is that unless you feed it information, you can't actually see what's there. But you can always use this navigator. So down the bottom on the left-hand side of Elementor, it's got these little like 3 layered stacks. You click on that and it brings up this navigator, which tells you all the different layers that your Elementor page has. So we can see we've got one section, we've got one column, and in that column is a heading. We've got another section underneath. In that section is a column, and then we've got a text editor in there. So what we're doing here, let's click on the first one. So I've dropped in a title into the column, but I've not given it any information. What I've done here is, and I'll just show you the process. Let me see. So I've dragged a heading into here. Now, normally you'd put your thank you here. So thanks for submitting, but that's not very personal. So what we do is, instead of doing the information in there, let's see. We click on this dynamic tags again. Okay. And then again, we want to go back down to request parameter and click on it again. And we want to give it, let's just say the person's name. So I'm going to call this display, I better not use username, display person name. Okay, I'll just make a copy of that. So we're basically telling it to dynamically populate from the URL parameter called display person name. Okay. Now, that's no good just having the person's name there, because if we were to redirect that, it's just going to send you to the thank you page. It's just going to say Will Brown or Bob Bobley. Like, what? What's that all about? So what we can do is we can click on the advanced, and the advanced allows you to put some text before the dynamic tag and after the dynamic tag. Okay, so we want to say, thank you very kindly, and a space, and then that's going to, and then that'll come before, and then the dynamic tag, which will be the name. Okay, and then afterwards we can put something else in here, like a couple of exclamation marks. Okay, so the dynamic data is going to be squished in between there. Okay, so that's that one there. And then we can do another one, which is some text. Let's drag that here, another section. And again, we basically do the same process. So we want to say, we want to try and bring in the information that they put into the topic, just so it gets a little bit of a dynamic. So dynamic tags again. Let's do request parameter. Click on it, and we're going to do this one. It's called topic. And advanced. And again, we want to see a little bit before there. So we want to see something like, you know, so you are having issues with a bit of HTML, strong, and then the dynamic tag will be put in there, and then afterwards I want to close that HTML. Okay, and then update that. Now you can't see that obviously, because there's no dynamic tag, there's no information that's pre-populating that, so it's just kind of blank, which is looks a bit silly, but let's just persevere on. So I'm going to update that. Okay, now if I view this thank you page, it's not going to do anything because there's no request parameters in the URL. Look, it's just the bog standard page. And because we're not pumping information in, then we can't see any of that dynamic information in there at all. So what we do is, let's go back to our test form, back down to redirect to the link. It was display person name. Oh, need to remember that. Okay, so you want to copy the link to the thank you page for that. Let's just go back to the thank you page. So this is a thank you page that's being displayed. There's the URL, elementor-thank-u. Let's copy that. And we put that into, where is it? There we go, into the redirect. So after it's been submitted, we want to redirect to the thank you page. That's just the URL. And then we want to put in that dynamic information. So question mark, we want to tell the browser, the web server, that it's going to be accepting additional information. And it was display person name equals. And we need to do a little trick. So we need to somehow get the information that the person's been put into that field, or into this field here, the name. So what we do is we'll leave that there just now, equals, and then we'll go back into the form fields. And Elementor actually allows us to a neat way of grabbing the information out of these fields. So we click on the name, and if we go to the advanced tab, we can use the short code here, and that will output that field anywhere on your Elementor page with the form embedded. So the short code here, so it's field ID equals name. So we're going to copy that. We'll back down to redirect, and we're going to put that at the end. So we've got the display person name equals, and then we'll put the shortcode. Then we're going to do another one, and then the key name is called topic equals, and then we'll do exactly the same here. So we'll go to the form fields. We're almost done, people. Into topic, advanced, and then we're going to copy the shortcode out. I'm going to fingers crossed that this works. Redirect. There we go. So we've created this redirect parameter. It's got the link to the thank you page. We've got two dynamic parameters. We've got display person name equals, and then shortcode to the form field ID, and topic equals, and then we've got a shortcode to that, the field data in there as well. So let's update this. And then let's give this another whir. Okay, let's do. So let's do the support page again. View this. We'll use this button here, which links to that, that form, and it's populated my name, email, and the topic. Let's go again. I'm going to send it, and this time, fingers crossed, it should redirect to our thank you page. Give it a couple of seconds. There we go. So it says, thank you very kindly, Will Brown. And then, sorry, you're having issues with blue widget is broken. And if you look at the top of the URL, and I know, I'm sorry, I can't zoom in here. You'll have to get really close to the monitor. We've got our URL, and this is what's being redirected after the form submit. This is the one that we just put in. So here we go. We've got the domain here, and then Elementor-thank you, and then question mark display person name equals. I'm used that shortcode. So it's grabbed the information out of the field and put it in there, and my name, Will Brown. And then topic, it used the shortcode for the form data, which is blue widget is broken. So that's the entire kind of process. So we've built a landing page. We've built a landing page with a button, and the button has a URL with some information in a parameter called topic. And when we click that, we've built a form with a field called topic that accepts a URL parameter using dynamic tags. So that is feeding in. And we've also used dynamic tags to bring in our login information. And then once we send that, the form redirects to a thank you page. And on the thank you page, we've got two WordPress elements. We've got a title that's got some, it's using dynamic tag to bring in the URL parameter display person name. And we've put some information before that. And then we've got a text field that's bringing in a dynamic tag called topic. And then it's got a little bit of text before that to say, sorry, you're having issues with. So that's the entire process for that. I know it's been a lot. It's kind of medium advanced topic for that tonight. And you're probably not going to understand a lot of that initially. So you'll have to kind of have a look back at the video, but that's the step process. And you can replicate that on any form on your website. And it will work with anonymous stuff as well. So you don't have to be logged in. And it's going to pass that information through those 3 steps. It just gives your users a little bit more of a personalized experience for that, and a little bit of a better user experience rather than just like the spinning Ajax thing and then says form submitted. You're like, yeah, great. You know, and you can use this process as well if you're a marketer or looking to market to kind of upsell things as well. So you can have any parameter in here that you want. So you could put another parameter called ampersand upsell equals WordPress care package. Yep. So that if someone has a problem and it's got a particular topic and you've got upsell equals, then you can maybe display a link to show you a widget that's got some information about your WordPress site care packages. So again, we can start building up dynamic data and marketing data as well. So not only are you saying, oh, you know, thanks, Will, sorry, having issues with this topic. You could also have someone to say, you know, oh, by the way, did you know we do WordPress site care plans? You know, here's some information, click through here. So we can start building up our marketing and our services as well dynamically and offering that to people. And it's not such a hard sell. It's just coming straight at them. It's not a cold sell. to say, you know, oh, we do this. It's a kind of linking into their problems. You know, they've already got this issue, and it's kind of a gentle way of nudging them into, oh, do you know, I also do this and I also do that. So, so some things to think about for extending that functionality. Please play around as well with dynamic tags. So as you saw, there's lots of different options there. If you're doing posts or if you're doing WooCommerce stuff as well. So if you've got forms embedded in WooCommerce, you can get product information and all that sort of stuff. So play around with the dynamic stuff, play around with the URL parameters as well. So I'll try and take some questions. I know we've gone a little bit kind of over the time, we've got about 15 minutes left. I'm just going to scroll through and see if there are any particular.
So there's nothing that I can see in the question in the chat box. The one that has been answered.
Yeah, I've got a couple of private ones here. So I've got one from Stanislav, Jane Stanislav. It says how to do if I want to fill 2 parameters to the form like you did, for example, your date. Yep, so that is easy to do. So you'd follow the same process. So I think what the person is asking here is what happens if you want to send 1 or more. So you can pretty much put as much information in the URL parameters as you want. I think there is a character limit, but it's lots. So let's not worry about that. But you just keep chaining them together. So when we go back to the very, very basics, let's see if I can go back to this one. So this one here, so when we've got the URL, we've got a question mark, and that tells the web server, the browser tells the web server, expect extra data in that URL. And then the first key pair here is action equals register. And then we use an ampersand to separate all the actions. So you just keep going. So you just do one key pair, key value pair, another key value pair, and another key value pair. You can have as many pairs as you want. And then once you get to the Elementor, you just suck them in from the URL. So yeah, basically you can have 2, you can have 3, you can have 4, you can have 50, as long as it doesn't exceed that URL size limit there. And you'll probably notice that in things like Amazon, when you go shopping at Amazon, if you've been browsing around your cart and you've added a few things, just as a nerdy thing to do, go up to URL, copy it and paste it in something like Notepad, and you'll see it kind of scrolls off into like your next neighborhood type thing. So yes, you can definitely have more of those. John is asking, you are using the get directive. Does this work for post as well? It does work for post, but what we're trying to do here is when you do things over URLs, a URL request, there's basically four methods that you're asking a web server to do via HTTP. You can do get, which is grabbing information. You can do push, or post, which you're posting information to. And you can use delete. You can use some other ones as well. But basically, get is where we're sucking the information out from the data that's already the web server has. Post is when we're pushing information to the web server to do something. So in this instance, we are just using get. So post wouldn't work because we're not asking the web server to do anything with the data we push to it. We are trying to get the information that the web server already has via the URL that at the top of the browser. Hope that makes sense. Dowie says, is there any defined code or names that you need to use for the actions, or can you define the variables yourself? You can define the variables yourself, but just you need to avoid any reserved names. So if you type in WordPress reserved names or WooCommerce reserved names, then you won't be able to use those particular ones. So we're thinking about things like when you install WooCommerce, it creates a custom post type called products or product. So you can't use the word product or products because that's reserved. WordPress will get confused. Things like post and page, you can't use those. Things like name or username, you can't use those sort of things. But anything else, you can define your own variables. And if you're unsure, just put like a prefix to it. For a lot of my stuff, when I do clients, I tend to use an acronym for either their company name or their company website. For example, my website is 0 Point Development, so I tend to use ZPD as a prefix for all my function names and all my variables, just so it's kind of consistent. And that way it doesn't impact with the reserved names as well. Okay. John is asking, of course, this also works to transfer data from one site to another, not just within the one site. And if the parameters contain sensitive information, you could use JavaScript or HTML history.pushDate to hide the parameters in the URL. Yes, you can. That's a bit advanced thing to do. Basically, what John is saying is you don't have to use this method within the same site. You can easily pass information from one website into another. And it's not very secure because, well, sorry, I should pull that back. I wouldn't use sensitive data or private data in those URLs because hackers could get that. So that's why I'm not passing email addresses or credit card numbers or that sort of stuff. Don't do that in HTML because people can see that as plain text for that. But yes, you can. Georgia asks, is there a function that will send an email thanking the person for their query too that's triggered once they hit submit? Yes, that's a great question. I kind of skipped all that. So by default, let me just find my mouse. There's let's get the form up. This one. Okay. So by default, Georgia, when you create a form, in Elementor, so you drag the form widget. In fact, let's just do that just now. It's easy to do. Form. Let's drag a new one down here. Okay, click on that. So by default, when you scroll down to it, you'll see this area called Actions After Submit. So let's get rid of Actions After Submit. Okay, so the default actions are collect submissions, and that means Elementor is going to store the information in an entry, and then email as well. And then when you add actions, they come down here as additional settings. So you can see here, it doesn't, the collect submissions doesn't, but the other ones do. So email here, so you click down in email, and you can see here that we can set up a senders, we can set up a subject and an all message here for that. So you could put in all the messages here. Let's see. This is my little boy. He's going off to bed. So remember we talked about kid bombing? A good example here. Say night-night to everyone.
Night-night.
Okay, off you go. I'll see you later. Yep, so by default, you can send an email to people, a subject, and here. So, and you can CC people as well. And if you want to do dynamic data, remember, so we've got this field called email. So if you want to send a copy to that person, what you can do is go into the form fields, go into the email, click on the advanced, get that short code, because that's where the data resides, and then go back into your email, and you can CC that or BCC that back to that person, and that'll send the email to that person. So, so by default, you know, when a new form, you've got these two triggers. It's going to collect information, and then it's going to email it out. So yes, you can send an email thanking the person as well for that. And there's lots of other things here. So you can send a second email for that. So you can send one to the admin, then you can send one to the person if you don't want to CC them. And for this, you can do a webhook to send to somewhere else. You can put it up to MailChimp or Drip or your CRM of your choice. You can send it to Slack, or you can do like a pop-up as well. So lots of different options there. But yes, Georgia, that was a great question. Thank you for that. Okay, I think that's all. Oh, yep, that's all the questions. I think I'm going to stop my screen and let John finish up for tonight. Again, if you've got any other questions, I'm happy for you guys to get in contact with me. Here's my details here. You can get in contact with me through the Meetup group. You can get in contact with me through LinkedIn at Developer Will, at Instagram on Wilbright_EU. Sometimes I'm even ranting on Twitter as well on Developer Will. But yeah, happy to get in contact if you got unsure about any of these topics for tonight. then yeah, just get in contact with me and let me know. So I'm going to hand back over to John.
Thanks, Will. Let's get this one open. That was excellent, Will. That was the kind of thing that as graphic designers always need to know, the stuff that we have no idea how it works, and I've just learned a hell of a lot there. So I hope all of the rest of you have as well. And so we'll wrap up for tonight, but just to let you know that obviously this runs, the Meetup group runs on the first Thursday of every month, and our next one will be June the 3rd at 6 p.m. Sydney time. And I've posted the URL into the chat window again, because we're using this new Elementor system. So if you can just follow that link and go into that one. And we will be having a mid-year Elementor Q&A. So this will be your chance to ask us anything, in theory, about Elementor, and we'll cover all the coding and the technical side, and I will try and cover all the design side, and Morris as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much, Will. That was really good.
Oh, you're welcome.
And of course, John, for your awesome hosting as well.
Thanks, mate.
That's really good.
Well, yeah, I hope you enjoy that beer, and the rest of you go and grab a beer now if you want, because it's 20 past 7. It's acceptable.
Georgia, go get some champagne.
Well, the champagne as the cake might have been for Rosalie. Or was it Rosalie? No, was it Rosalie that had the champagne?
No.
I can't recall.
Yeah, champagne for everyone.
Champagne all around.
Champagne all around.
Pat on my lap. I can't move now. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.